Welcome to another TMG interview. My name is Paul Preston, talking about movies with the people who make them. And today I'm talking about one of the most unique films I can safely say I've ever seen, Abruptio. And it's about a man named Les Hackle who leads a mundane life. And one day it's revealed that he's had an explosive device embedded in his neck, and he's required to carry out these sinister missions, or face the consequences by the people who put the device there. Oh, and Les and every other character is a puppet. All right. I probably shouldn't explain anymore because I'll give away spoilers or something. So I'll let the person who made the film talk about it. That is the writer-director, Evan Marlowe.
Thanks. Good to be here.
All right. So yes, please explain Abruptio so no spoilers are given away, but people get a proper explanation of what's going on in this movie, because it is unique.
The basic premise is someone discovers that a bomb's been implanted in his neck, and turns out that everyone has a bomb in their neck, and everybody's being manipulated by some, being or organization, I'm not really sure what, to do things, to commit acts, or else the bomb goes off. So that's on its surface what the movie's about. But the movie is enacted with lifelike puppets. There's no humans in it, and they're all happening in realistic settings.
Yeah, it's not a movie about puppets. It's a movie about people, performed by puppets, and occasionally more than puppets. I think there are occasionally times when body doubles, are standing in for the puppets, because you never make the attempt to set. There are no miniature sets. Am I correct?
That's right.
Yeah. So how did you put together the movie how did you handle those two specific tech elements where you had people sometimes, puppets sometimes, and I mean the car shots, those were life-size cars and life-size people. What did you do to make all that work out seamlessly?
Well, we used puppets as often as we could, but sometimes we just couldn't pull it off, like wide shots. I mean, we didn't want to see talking heads for the entire movie. We wanted stunts and wide shots and things like that. So we needed to use body doubles with masks, for some of those. But 95% of it was puppets. We used real settings or standing sets, and we didn't use any. We use a lot of CGI afterwards to kind of make smooth some of the problems out, but there really wasn't a reliance on any sort of manipulation. Otherwise, there's some effects in there, but it's not a very effects heavy. It's a very practical movie. Most things that we could do in camera, we did.
It certainly seems that way. And since they are puppets, and you talk about how people are being ordered to do things because they have an explosive device in their neck, technically they are puppets. So what part of the theme came to you first? Hey, I want to make a movie about puppets, and here's how we do it. Or did you have the idea of the story and you thought this would be the best way to tell it?
I wrote the script about 10 years ago. So my recollection's not great, but I was asking my wife, and she said, I woke up with a dream that everyone's puppets. And I said, like marionettes. She said, no, these are all realistic puppets. The film has to be, populated with, instead of humans, they look like humans, but they're actually like, hand puppets. So I guess from there, I kind of wrote a script that where the theme used that, and so that it wasn't just kind of a novelty, that it actually worked with the theme of the movie. So I think it kind of started as a dream, and then it kind of arose organically while I was writing the script.
So she reminded you that you said something about puppets
Yeah,
at
her
one
memory
point
tends to
so
be,
long ago.
yeah, she's a bit younger than me, and her memory's better than mine, generally speaking. So yeah, I can't remember stuff like that, but she's got a pretty clear recollection, so I trust her on that.
And the title is never mentioned in the film, as far as I can recall. So how is it? Am I even pronouncing it correctly? Abruptio, or is it
Yeah.
abruptio? And then what does that mean overall?
Abruptio is a medical term where the placenta detached from the uterine wall. So it's sort of a traumatic separation of the placenta from the uterus. So it's kind of metaphorical for this movie, because a lot of it explores our lead character's relationship with women in general and his mom specifically, and just kind of cutting the cord, just kind of transitioning from a boy to a man, but doing it, in your 30s instead of when you're supposed to, in your teens.
That explains the odd Google results I got when I searched.
Yeah.
So hopefully you rise above the medical terms here, and the Google searches closer to the release of the movie.
Yeah.
But but you do everything. You talked about you write, direct, produce, shoot, edit, even provide a voice for a brief moment in the film. Uh, and I'm sure you love it. And the collaboration is great when you have it, but this also has to save money in the budget, right? So what are the benefits of doing it all?
Oh, well, the benefits, obviously, if you know what you're doing and you have the patience and perseverance, you can, you see your vision out without studio executives, moving you off course. Or, I mean, sometimes that
Amen.
feedback is helpful, but a lot of times it clouds the vision that you originally had. So, I mean, definitely that's the thing. And it's not, and then, like you said, but it's budgetary largely. It's not necessarily by choice. If someone came to me with a budget and said, here's a bunch of people to help you realize your vision, then that probably be preferable. But that's not the reality of it. You have to just kind of make do. You have to pick up a camera and learn how to light it. And fortunately, I did not have to make the puppets. We had a very skilled fabricator, and I did not have to do puppeteering. So we had very skilled people doing those things. But for the rest of it, it was really just me and my wife, who's a producer. So she did a lot of the behind the scenes things as well. So between the two of us, that was pretty much it for most of the movie.
Yeah, let's go in depth on some of those people. So your chief uh, puppet fabricator is Jeff Farley. So that means he designs the overall look of how they're supposed to be because your lead character Les is definitely an everyman office schlub. So like was this how you pictured him, or did you
Yeah.
collaborate with him to get that design?
Well, strangely for less, we did a live cast. Now, this sort of movie has not been made before. So we thought originally, well, we're going to have to live cast our actor and kind of work up from there. So we did that for less. I didn't really like the original result. So then we just kind of scrapped the live casting because, fabricators can sculpt from scratch, is what eventually Jeff, and other fabricators did. Just kind of create it from the, inside out. And that worked out better, but originally we had a life cast as the basis for less.
And Danny Montooth is your one of your main puppeteers, correct? And
Yeah.
it wasn't even until I read a little bit about this that, yeah, that's basically it's like a Muppet. A hand goes up into the mouth and moves the mouth back and forth. So how challenging is that? Because every once in a while there's like three-quarter shots. So someone's got to have their arm reaching way up and their duck way down below. I imagine something to that effect.
Yeah, it's obviously something I mean, unless you've got training in puppeteering, I don't think you and I could do something like that. It really is almost a superhuman feat to get your body. He's a very tall guy to get himself in this position, like in the well of a car, and get his arm in there and hold it there for like, an hour or however long it took to get all these shots in that position and to be able to emote, because if it was just the mouth going up and down, I don't think the movie would work. But obviously we wanted these were lip sync lines, but also everything had to you had to get a feel for the emotions of the character. So I thought that would be difficult because these are flat puppets. There's not much movement there. But somehow the puppeteer is able to bring it to life through their skill.
Yeah, so you said lip sync. So the actors record all their lines ahead of time, and
Yeah.
then you can kind of take your time, I guess, putting the rest of the film together. And by the way, also, I've interviewed a couple of puppeteers. They're all tall. I guess
Yeah.
that must mean something to get the arms that, they're all kind of lanky. I mean, I'm kind of
Yes.
lanky too.
Yeah.
But but you got a roll call of horror legends: Robert Englund, Jordan Peele, James Marsters. How did they come aboard, and what does it mean to you to give the world Sid Haig's final performance?
Well, I mean, it was such an honor to meet Sid and work with him, and he was just such a great guy. I mean, you could tell he's a very authentic, warm guy when he came and worked with us. So it was just really an honor to have him there, and it just feels like that he was born to do this character. And all the others were just legends. So it was a huge honor. And I think if we'd done like an animation or live action, I think maybe the interest wouldn't have been there. But this is such a weird concept that hadn't been done before. I think that kind of piqued a lot of people's interest, and they just wanted to see how this would turn out.
Puppy dog? Is that how you could describe Sid Haig? This is a big
What's
puppy
that?
dog. It's Sid
Yeah,
Haig,
probably.
big puppy dog.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah,
Sometimes that's how these horror guys are. It's incredible. Like you think
yeah.
they'd be these dark figures, that float everywhere they go, but
No,
not
I,
so
I
much.
didn't. I didn't get that impression from any of them. Robert England and all of them were just down to earth, and they came in and they took direction and they had lots of ideas, and it just worked great with these guys.
And James Marsters, certainly I followed a bunch when he was on Buffy, but this character lacks self-esteem, which I wouldn't say Spike did. He's very much more subdued.
Yeah.
So was he excited to show fans maybe something new, or you were excited to deliver something like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think he was really repulsed by the script when he first read it, and he was, I didn't think he definitely didn't want to do it. But
Oh,
then he had to reconsider it with puppets, and also we kind of changed the ending so it wasn't quite so dark, and I made sure that we have ups and downs of emotion, that there was some humor and some gore and that sort of thing. So it wasn't an assault on the senses. And I think he just kind of understood that where we're going with all that, and I think that they came on board, understanding the whole picture. And as far as subdued, we definitely worked on him being just a lump at the beginning of the movie, just this turd, and then evolving, probably becoming empowered as becomes violent. He's rewarded for it. So he gets a little more grounded, and I think he reflects that in his performance by the end of it. He's a different person than at the beginning of the film.
yeah, certainly. And also points for maximizing the talent of the great Rich Fulcher. I'm a Chicago improv guy trained back there and did a bunch of perform. Watched him all the time. And between this and Wonka, I'm excited to see him. I mean, I know he's worked a ton in the last 15, 20 years, but I'm excited to see a little push to the front of the line for him. He's great.
Yeah, yeah, he's great. Yeah, he was a friend of ours too. So, and
Oh,
then
cool.
yeah, no, he's been on a ton of stuff. I mean, he's been a ton. Rick and Morty. He's just all over the place. He's working a lot now.
Yeah. So then how do you direct each part so it comes together seamlessly? Like you have to you got one shot at the voice. Did you have to go back and record any other? I'm asking a number of questions. But how did you
So,
direct the voice talent? And did you have to go back and re-record anything once you get on set and you realize, oh, this should have this sort of tone to it? Or do you just have to nail it and stick to your vision once those vocal lines are laid down?
well, I think you do need to, and this is the case for any film. The director has to have a vision in their head, and understand the movie from beginning to end. But what doesn't necessarily isn't the case is that you have to have that vision in your head for 7 years, and record a voice, and then come back to do part of that scene, and then a few years later come back and finish the other, the turnaround shot on the puppet that you didn't have. You just have to have that film in your head, and understand the subtext of each scene. But just to be safe, we would get alternate takes on things for most of these guys. I mean, other than Sid Haig, which was just pretty much, that character is pretty much you see what you get. But like Robert Englund gave all sorts of variations, and James all sorts of variations, so that I could pick, the best take that I thought worked, not just in the scene, but against the other character. So I think just having expecting what knowing what you want, but also just kind of leaving a little plan B in your mind when you're in the booth.
Yeah, and so talking about all those years passing by, did COVID play a part in the stretch of this
Yeah, it
going
definitely
longer than you
did.
thought?
No, it did. Yeah, no, it added another couple years. We were ready to get started again because we'd taken a break. The movie was long, the script was longer. We had another character, and and then we're like, this has gone long enough. Let's just delete the character. Let's condense some scenes. Let's just get this movie made. And we're all like, all right, let's do this. And then COVID hit. So, of course, it was an unfortunate time for everybody. But if there's a silver lining, it gave us a little bit of time to step back and kind of, it was right before the interrogation scene, especially with the police, to kind of plan it all out, storyboard it, get the props put together, like harvest stuff from thrift stores or wherever, eBay, and build things and work on how we're going to, get a puppet to smoke while wearing masks. We couldn't blow smoke through. We had to work on bellows. So it just gave us an extra few months to kind of like to take a breath and plan things out a little better. And then when we got back to it, the puppets didn't need to wear masks, but we all had to distance and wear masks and have a compliance officer on set. So it still slowed us down quite a bit, and it added, some expense to it. But I feel like, if things are too easy, the end result is never great. It's when you get these challenges, you have to like, jump over these hurdles, and then the end result is you've put a little bit more effort into it, a little more creativity into it, and I think that shows in the finished product.
Yeah, I think I've seen it with the movie that has like $300 million budget. It's like, well, no one told them no, and ooh, ouch, it shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And then you end up having a good festival run.
Yeah, it was really good. I didn't think it would be well received because it's such a weird movie. But it had tons of accolades. I think it won 21 awards. The most recent was a few weeks ago in Amsterdam. It won for Best Animation. And but during 2023, it was in a slew of festivals. I think there was a lot of word of mouth component where a festival director or a programmer heard about it or saw it from another festival, and they contacted us to program it. So a lot of that happened, and I just think it just took off, and it developed a fan base during that festival run.
Cool. And everyone will get to see it come September 27th. I
That's right.
started this interview not giving spoilers, and it won't start now, but I will say the finale is outstanding.
Thank
Not
you.
just how the story wraps up all the way with some reveals and things, but to the final shot. I mean, it is to your point, well thought out. Like you didn't,
Thank
you
you.
didn't wing it
Thanks.
at all. And uh that head to YouTube now. You can watch the trailer and see what you're in for. A couple more questions before you leave. I ask this of everybody. It's the worst question of all time, and also my favorite. What is your favorite movie of all time?
It is a bad question. um,
Everybody cheats too. If you got five, if you got the one that's your favorite right now, everybody says that kind of stuff. So cheating's fine.
I mean, I wouldn't even say in retrospect it's my favorite, but I'd say things that compelled me to be a filmmaker, probably I would consider in my childhood the things that prompted me. There's like a list of films that I watched over and over again, and strangely, A Clockwork Orange was one of them when I was a kid. That
That's
shaped. That's a weird movie
that
for a
that
kid.
shapes your childhood right there.
Yeah, but then It's a Wonderful Life also is in there, and The
Well, you got to have that
Graduate.
balance, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and The Graduate. That was the original few, I'd say. And then, of course, as Spielberg started putting out movies, you become enamored, with the magic of it. E.T. and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's just a series of one after another. But I think those three kind of were like there at the beginning that I watched over and over. And then I had like this, VHS of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I watched that over and over. So I kind of like studied film, at a young age, just like with a small handful of movies. And then as I got older, of course, I realized there's a whole big world of cinema out there that's been going back for decades or 100 years. And I started to explore all that too.
How old were you when you saw Clockwork Orange?
Oh, God. It must have been before 13 or so, probably
Wow.
12. Yeah.
Because I saw you touched my favorite, which is Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it'll never change because 42 years with me, or 43 now, or whatever. This is not going to change. As much as I love No Country for Old Men or any new films that come out, Raiders just is it.
Yeah.
But then I was prompted to go back and I want to see all movies now. I love movies. Movies are the best. And I
Yeah.
watched like Chinatown and Network, and I was like, I don't understand movies. I was too young. Uh, I got the Clockwork a bit later, but yeah. So did you even understand Clockwork Orange when you were watching it?
I don't know. I don't even know what was going through my head. I just think it was like the pacing of it, and there was just something, how a lot of Kubrick stuff is, you like whatever 2001 and The Shining. It's just something about it that just gets under your skin. And as a filmmaker, you try to kind of dissect it, see what it is, but I just don't. I don't know if anyone's come to understand what that power was that Kubrick had, but clearly he was in charge and he recreated that from one movie to the next.
I mean, he never, ever was a director for hire. He just did his thing. Maybe Spartacus, but everything else, like just he had his thing, and that was the best. So tell me what's next. If you got anything in the pipeline.
No, not directly. What I've decided to do is just kind of write a lot for the past year, write a ton of scripts, so that if this movie comes out and there's any interest in another project, then I'm ready. I've got scripts from all genres and budgets. The one thing I realized like a few weeks ago, what I don't have is a straight horror movie, which is a problem. Because typically, if a horror movie you make takes off, they're going to know, do you have another horror movie? So I've been diligently working on another horror movie because horror comedy and a little sci-fi and time travel, but not a straight horror film. So that's really been my focus for the past year. Just kind of churn out one feature script after another, just to be prepared in case this movie takes off.
Yeah, because I should say I forgot. Besides writing, directing, producing, shooting, editing, you're an author of many books and you write
That's cool.
music. And so yeah, sitting here going, what's next for you? It seems like there's always something brewing.
Yeah, I think that I'm the sort of person that always has to be active creatively, whatever it is. So, music I did obsessively for a while. Then it kind of like felt like it was too obsessive. Like I needed to like set it aside and just live my life, which is like probably the most important thing for any filmmaker or creative person. So you never know. Maybe I'll just kind of wander into sculpting or something next. I just never know because I'm curious. His life is short, and you should explore as much of it as possible.
Absolutely. Well, Evan, everyone should explore once again Abruptio opening September 27th all across the US. Well, limited across the US, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But you'll have your chance to see it, and I recommend that you get out and you do. And if you want to see more interviews with filmmakers like this, please check out themovieguys.net or check us out at The Movie Guys on Facebook and X and Instagram. Still not used to calling it X,
Mm.
as well as as on YouTube. We have tons of interviews and podcasts and other stuff on there. Got some plugs for people to follow to keep track of your film?
Well, abruptio.com, and on Facebook we're at Abruptio Film. That's mainly Facebook is where mostly I post any updates, so I would check that out if you can.
And I recommend watching that trailer because you'll be like, okay, I got to see what's going on over there. And again, for a film that involves puppets, I found it remarkably, by the time you reach the conclusion of that film, I think you'll find it remarkably human. So
Thank you.
good on you, Evan. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.